It's showtime. For those folks who haven't joined me before on a weekend live stream, these things are a little bit different than the ones that I do in the middle of the week. I don't usually have any guests on my Sunday social live streams. Instead, they're low key conversations that I'll take anywhere you guys want to take them. So, also, I should point out that this particular live stream this Sunday is being hosted by Tiny TV Treasures, another YouTube channel. And because of that, I think we're going to have a small elite group of community members here this afternoon. But to those folks that are here, I say welcome. It's great to have you here. Let me see who is in the chat. I've been visiting with Spike Spikerson already and John Collins. Let's see who else is here. Kenneth Wilkinson, welcome. Lance Chaffin, welcome as well. I think that is everyone that I've seen in the chat. Oh, wait, here we go. We got Danny Staten from South Carolina with us. And Superplex, good afternoon to you as well, sir. Like I said, Sunday socials are exactly that. They are low-key, informal conversations. Typically, these live streams don't last as long as my Wednesday live streams either. We're just going to hang out a little bit and enjoy each other's company on a Sunday, and we'll see where it goes. Hello, Nancy D. It is great to have you here. Kimberly Wiederhold, welcome as well. Uh-oh. Danny Staten says all he sees is a black screen. Does everybody else see me? Please let me know in the chat. I want to make sure that we have both audio and visual working for us today. All right. I'm waiting for confirmation of that. In the meantime, I will post a comment that I made a little earlier. I said today, no topic, Sunday socials or freeform. However, the topic on Wednesday will be Bigfoot on TV and in movies. I'm looking forward to that topic tremendously. And I will have a new video out in preparation for that. So hope everybody will be on hand for the live stream on Wednesday. Let's see. Spike Spikerson says, I see Dave, but he's Asian. Is this the right channel? Let me put that up on the screen. Do I look Asian today? Let's see. And then Danny says, well, I see you on this one. Okay, good. I'm glad you. And Christopher Kraft, welcome to the live stream. I see you as well. GR says, video is working for me. Thanks for the confirmation, GR. Kimberly Wiederhold asks, do I remember Bigfoot and Wild Boy? Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, I've done a video on that one. Great show from the late 70s from the Masters, Sid and Marty Krofft. Love those guys. Love everything they ever did. They made my Saturday mornings so much more special. Hello, Todd McCreary. Good to have you with us. Superplex says Bigfoot got married to the Loch Ness Monster. Holy cow, that means Bigfoot can swim. At least I would think so. Danny says that he had to restart his phone. Okay, that makes sense. Kimberly says, I don't look Asian. Well, that makes sense too, since I'm not. Let's see. Although, let's see. Audio is also working. Thank you, GR. And Spike Spikerson says, never mind, I was watching Gangnam Style. Great song. I love that song. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of a K-pop fan, truthfully. Although, does that count as K-pop? It does, right? Yeah. Let's see. Superplex said, Sid and Marty Krofft killed Saturday morning cartoons. I didn't do a ton of cartoons, right? So I think you're probably referring to the fact that around the same time as Sid and Marty Krofft really had their heyday on Saturday morning television, there was a lot of different live action programming that constituted those Saturday morning shows, and there were still cartoons on. But to your point, Superplex, there were fewer. Let's see. Lance Chafin says Kimberly loved that theme song. The Bigfoot and Wild Boy theme song, yeah, that was an awesome one. Had narration with some really great music. Not much of a song really, but it was cool. Let's see. Lance Chaffin says Bigfoot, man or beast, good doc to watch. Okay, I'll check it out. Joey Baseball, welcome to the live stream, says, do you like cartoons? I like Garfield. Yeah, I do like cartoons, although I always gravitated more towards like the heroic cartoons like Super Friends and stuff like that on Saturday mornings. I loved Tarzan. In the mid 70s, there was Batman and Tarzan, and later on, The Lone Ranger. Super Friends, like I said, was, that show ran for like 9 seasons on ABC. Kimberly Wiederhold says, again referring to Bigfoot and Wild Boy, don't remember the theme, but I still know the theme to Land of the Lost. Yeah, it was different because it was basically narration on top of some really heroic music, but it was awesome. GR says Speedy Gonzalez was great. Yeah, I love Speedy Gonzalez. Zuperplex says NBC and the Croft brothers. Yeah, they had a great partnership going. Most of those Croft programs were on NBC, although I think like Far Out Space Nuts was on CBS. Let's see. Joey Baseball says, I see you're going to be Crazy After Dark with Crazy Joe. I'll be on Crazy After Dark with Crazy Joe. He hasn't asked me yet, but I typically accept all invitations. Kenneth Wilkinson says, why don't they make miniseries anymore, Dave? That's a really good question. I think, you know what? With the advent of Netflix and streaming services like that, where you can get like 7 or 8, sometimes a show will be 7 or 8 episodes that you can just kind of stream through. You can just kind of burn through them really quickly. That's kind of the equivalent to me of the modern day equivalent of a miniseries. Let's see. Kimberly Wiederhold says Pink Panther, referring to great cartoons in the 70s. I enjoyed that too. That was on NBC for a long time. Zuperplex says King Kong 10 times as big as a man. Loved the original King Kong movie. And then some of those King Kong movies in the 50s and 60s were great as well. Lance Chaffin says, and the A&E in Search of documentary on Bigfoot hosted by Leonard Nimoy himself, Spock himself. Have to check that one out as well, Lance. Great suggestion. Thank you. John Collins says, hey, Dave, what do you think of my new nickname, which was bestowed upon you on last Monday's live stream, the Secular Pontiff of Nostalgia? Holy cow, that's a lot. That's a mouthful. I don't mind it. I can't see, it's easier to say Dave. Nicknames are fun because usually they're short and sweet. So you guys got to think of that. Maybe just, I don't know. I don't know where we would go with that one, but it's a good one. GR says Batman and Robin meet Scooby-Doo. Oh, I loved that one. That show was a lot of fun. The animation was horrible, but that's part of those Scooby-Doo mystery movies, and I've made an entire video on those Scooby-Doo mystery movies. I loved them. Spike Spikerson says there's some cool videos about the miniaturization effects on Land of the Lost on YouTube. Have to check them out. I don't think I've seen those. And Kimberly Wiederhold, referring to Speedy Gonzalez, says, I loved Speedy. And Todd McCurry says, I like Captain Cool and the Kongs. And Captain Cool and the Kongs were the hosts of the Croft Super Show, wherein Bigfoot and Wild Boy got their start. Zuperplex says, who is Crazy Joe? That's a great question. I don't know. Joey Baseball says they make miniseries, but now they call them limited series now. Yeah, that's true. GR says miniseries are TV series now. Yep, exactly. Particularly on like streaming services. I really enjoyed Only Murders in the Building with Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez, among others on that. And that was on Hulu. I think it was 8 episodes. It felt like a miniseries. Zuperplex says the nickname is Cool John. And Spike Spikerson says, feels like the new Star Treks are miniseries. Yeah, I can see that. And Dolph Quick, welcome to the live stream, says, crap, I'm late. Well, there's 13 of you here. It's going to be a small, but like I said earlier, whole itch there. Like I said earlier, a small but elite crew with us today. And of course, this is the Sunday Social, so there's no topic, there's no trivia. It's going to be only 45 minutes long or so. Have a lot of stuff going on today, but I wanted to hang out with you guys a little bit and just talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Here we go. This is the actual narration from Bigfoot and Wild Boy. Out of the great Northwest comes the legendary Bigfoot, who 8 years ago saved a young boy lost in the wild. That was a powerful narration. Spike Spikerson says, "Hey Dolph," and then Superplex said they made a cartoon of King Kong, as they did with a cartoon of Godzilla too. Oh, Joey Baseball says, "Would the honeymooners be toned down today?" Yeah, no going to the moon, no bam zoom going to the moon. There probably wouldn't be any of that in today's version of the honeymooners. All right, lots of people saying hi. That's awesome. I love it. Kimberly Wiederholt says, "In Search of was a good series, interesting subjects." Yeah, I loved them. I will say a few of them freaked me out, though. A few of them did. Nimoy did a great job of hosting that show. Jeff Sadden, welcome to the live stream, says, "I just watched the Grinch Halloween special that never knew it existed. It was horrible." Yeah, I watched it as well. First time for me as well, Jeff. It was on YouTube. And, well, I won't say it was horrible. It certainly doesn't match, doesn't come anywhere near the classic status of, how the Grinch saved Christmas. Let's see. Zooperplex says they should put In Search of on Tubi. Yeah, on any of the streaming services, but Tubi would be a great one. I love that service. Dolph, welcome to the live stream. Zooperplex says In Search of had every single crazy off-the-wall conspiracy theory on the show. That's what made it so great, Zooper. That's what made it so great. Lance Chaffin says, "Loved that Godzilla cartoon in the early 80s. As did I. Had Godzuki in it, too, that little guy that couldn't do fire, but he could do those little smoke rings." Kimberly Wiederholt says, "Thanks for the warning. I will avoid it." I can't remember what that was about. Oh, the Halloween special, the Grinch Halloween special. It wasn't horrible. It just wasn't great. "Anyone remember Battle of the Planets?" asks Lance Chaffin. Yes, I do. And loved that show. I remember watching it on our first UHF station here in Salt Lake City, probably 79-ish was when it debuted, and I was hoping for an adventure similar to Star Wars. And, there's some science fiction elements to it. It's very different than Star Wars, though. GR says there was a good sci-fi comedy show called The Middleman on ABC back in 2008 that only lasted 12 episodes. I must say, I do not remember that, GR. That's something I guess I need to take a look at. Although typically with the videos that I produce, I stick to the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s when it comes to TV. Let's see, what else do we have here? Dolph Quick says, "Remember those Disease of the Weeks movies?" Yeah, I remember that, and Disaster of the Week. There were a lot of different movies during the 70s, 80s, television movies that would cover those things. Danny Staten says they did a really good comic book series of Godzilla in the 80s on Marvel, right? I remember it. Superplex says, "Loved the Fantastic Four cartoons and Spider-Man and Star Trek." Yeah, the Trek cartoon to me is, I know lots of folks feel a tremendous amount of affection for the Spider-Man TV series. It's I think they call it the 67 Spider-Man series. That's the year it debuted. And it was done by legendary animator Ralph Bakshi. But for me, one of the greatest cartoons of all time, Saturday morning cartoons, is the Star Trek cartoon. They really did a great job of really kind of felt like that the fourth season of Trek. Okay. Lance Chaffin says Battle of the Planets had a kick-A theme song. I don't remember it. I'll have to look it up on YouTube. And Joey Baseball says, "Do you feel Match Game lost its mojo with the star wheel? Richard Dawson felt personality slighted by that and left the show, and went on to win an Emmy for Family Feud." Well, first off, I'm glad Richard ultimately ended up going to Family Feud. It was perfect for him, and he was a wonderful host of that show. In terms of losing its mojo, I didn't really feel like it lost its mojo until it was combined with Hollywood Squares in the early 80s. See, James Dye, welcome to the live stream, says loved Battle of the Planets. Superplex says Lance, Planet of the Apes cartoon had characters hardly move at all. Yeah, there were a lot of still images. It was a very limited animation, but the animation was good and the drawings were good. I really enjoyed that animated Planet of the Apes show. 76, I want to say, 76, 77. GR says Dick Dastardly and his Flying Machines was great way back. Yeah, that was. I haven't seen a ton of those episodes, but I've seen a handful of them, and I thought those were fun as well. Kimberly Wiederholt says SST Disaster in the Sky, even actors in it thought it was bad. I don't remember that one. Wow, this is fun conversation, folks. Thank you so much for hanging out with me a little bit this Sunday. Let me keep moving. Lance Chafin says Thundar the Barbarian. You know what? I never really got into Thundar. It was a little bit past my time. I was getting a little bit older, but I remember it, and I think my brother Stephen enjoyed that show quite a bit. GR says love Star Trek animated. Yes, indeed. And you know what? I really liked those novelizations. Alan Dean Foster, great author, would do like Star Trek Log 1, Log 2, Log 3. And each of those books would be 3 or 4 episodes from the animated series. And those were a lot of fun to read. And Foster did a great job of adapting them into written form and adding more nuance and complexity to the storylines. Superplex says, okay, I don't remember what this is about, so we will keep moving. Braidwood Inn, my friend Justin. By the way, that was a lot of fun doing your live stream this morning, talking about planes, trains, and automobiles. Folks, I think I posted a link to it if you want to catch the replay. It's in the community section over on the Dave Sundstrom channel. Good afternoon to you, by the way, Justin. Great to have you here. Joey Baseball says, the worst animated show I've ever seen was Clutch Cargo, and I didn't watch that one, so I don't really remember that one as well. And GR says Paul Lynde was great on Hollywood Squares. I thought he was great in almost everything. I've heard that he could be a real jerk offset and with other cast members, but you know what? He was a complex individual. There was a lot going on. So I thought he was really talented, funny man. All right. Dolph Quick says, every time I came home from school, I looked forward to watching Battle of the Planets. And Todd McCreary says, Joey Baseball, yeah, I think the main reason they did it was because everybody picked Richard, but it was still good. And that's in reference to his question about the Star Wheel on Match Game during those later years. Let's see. Kimberly Wiederhold says, does anybody remember Penelope's Pit Stop? I'm familiar with it. I didn't watch a ton of that. Right. That was part of Wacky Racers. Great for pointing that out, Lance. And Joey Baseball said, can you name any sequels to movies that came out 20 to 40 years later that you actually enjoyed? Sequels to movies that came out 20 to 40 years later that I actually enjoyed. I enjoyed Tron Legacy. That came out probably about 20 years after the original Tron. What else? I don't know. I'll see if other folks in the chat have some sequels to movies that they really enjoyed. All right. Spike Spikerson says, I was watching Pint's Planet in Astro Boy. I don't know what that Pint's Planet is. Is that right? At the time. I remember Astro Boy. And they actually did an Astro Boy movie that wasn't too bad. And referencing the live stream that Justin and I did this morning, he says, Lance Chaffin says, those aren't pillows. Justin, a.k.a. Breadwood Inn, says, I thought the Three Stooges cartoon from the 60s was clever, a mix of live action and cartoon. I agree with you, Justin. I thought that was clever as well. Limited animation there as well. I didn't think the animation was great, but I thought it was a funny cartoon. And I only caught it in reruns, and I've caught a few episodes here on YouTube. Okay. Let's keep moving. Superplex says, in the Star Trek cartoon, Captain Kirk got his T in the middle initial. He was never T, but James Tiberius Kirk before that? I didn't realize that. Coke is it. James Dye says there was also an animated Journey to the Center of the Earth. I vaguely recall that, but didn't see it. I'm going to keep scrolling through here. Joey Baseball again asks, when you were young, did you get excited for the giant balloons at the Macy's parade? I got excited for not the Macy's parade, but the actual parades that we would have locally. And for a couple of reasons. One, my parents would just let me kind of run. I lived in a small enough town at the time where, parents would just kind of find a spot for the parade, and then you would wander around and look for your buddies. And also at the same time, particularly I'm thinking around the Independence Day parades, July 4th, that time of year, there usually would be some sort of like carnival or festival fair going on near where the parade would end. And so we would always work our way down to that and just goof off all night and hope to find our parents or find a parent to take us home when we were done. So I love parades. Didn't necessarily love watching parades on TV. Let's see. GR says Alan Dean Foster wrote the first Star Wars novel titled Splinter of the Mind's Eye that took place right after the Star Wars movie. Yeah, my dad brought me home that book from a trip that he'd gone on for work. And he knew how much of a Star Wars fan I was, and I brought that home, and there's a lot of things that happen in that novel that don't make a lot of sense in context with Empire Strikes Back, but it sure was a fun read, and because of that, it has a special place in my heart, and I still have a copy of Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Dolph Quick asks, which is better, Saturday morning cartoons or syndicated cartoons? For me, Saturday morning cartoons, because it was the event of Saturday morning, that setting the alarm clock. I'd borrow my dad's alarm clock. We only had one in the house, and I'd go and I'd ask him if I could borrow it on Saturday mornings because he didn't have to get up as early as he normally does. And so I'd get that and unplug it and take it in my bedroom, set it for 6 a.m. locally here. And then, the alarm would go off and I would go downstairs very quietly, and I didn't want to wake anybody up. I didn't want them angry at me, but then I would get me a big bowl of cereal and settle on in for a morning's worth of cartoons. And for that reason, the event feeling of Saturday morning cartoons, it's just more special to me. Kimberly Wiederhold says, my after-school show was Speed Racer. Great show. I think probably the first time I saw Speed Racer was when they were rerunning it on MTV in the late 80s, somewhere around there. Spike Spikerson says, does the thing from the 80s count? Oh, do you mean that thing? It was like the thing from Fantastic Four, but he had his own show, and it was kind of a comedy more than anything else. Let's see. Superplex says Saturday mornings. And then Kimberly Wiederhold says Legacy was better than Tron. There were things in it that were better than Tron. Obviously, the special effects. And I thought the story was pretty good. There were some things. I would have liked more Tron action, more Tron himself in that movie, where it was the story of Flynn getting to reunite with his son, which was a great story. Don't get me wrong. Let's see. Saturday morning cartoon, says Lance Chaffin. GR says, my wife has the DVD set for Penelope Pitstop and the Ant Hill Mob. Very cool. Let's see. Spike Spikerson says it was a remake. I'm not sure. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Not the Thing cartoon, but the Thing from the 80s, a remake. I got it. This is going back to Joey's question about sequels 20 years later. Braidwood Inn. Justin says T3 was decent, especially the crane chase scene. I haven't ever seen T3. My confession there. I've seen the Terminator and T2, but that's it. Kimberly Wiederhold says she didn't like that movie. And then John Collins says, my wife and I started watching Christmas films, and we started with the Charlie Brown Christmas, of course. Do you feel programs did better than now, I'm going to say, at not talking down to their viewers as opposed to now? Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I do. I think that in our desire to be so politically correct, and I'm not trying to take it in this conversation in that direction, but I think it has part of it. It feels important nowadays that all these holiday movies and specials, that they even have more of a message And yet it's not the message that I would necessarily want to see in a Christmas special, if you catch my drift. So I don't know if it's talking down to viewers or talking sideways to viewers, but I don't get the same level of joy that I get out of something like A Charlie Brown Christmas, which I've done a video on that one, by the way, as well. And did you know that Charles Schultz had to really fight to have that part of the special where Linus reads from the Bible? There were folks that didn't want him to include that, and he fought to keep that part in and have it be kind of, a real pivotal part of the special. And I'm glad he did. You know what? I get it that not everybody celebrates Christmas and that there are other holidays around the same time, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah. And I get it, that very special holidays to them, but that doesn't mean that Christmas is any less special to those of us that celebrate that holiday. And it's okay to call something a Christmas special instead of a holiday special. It's okay to say Merry Christmas instead of Happy Holidays. Generically, at least in my mind, it is. And that's because, at least for me, if someone said Happy Hanukkah to me, I would say Happy Hanukkah right back to them, because I would know then that it was a special time of year for them. If someone said, Happy Kwanzaa or Merry Kwanzaa or whatever you say with Kwanzaa, I don't celebrate Kwanzaa, but whatever you say, and they said it to me, I would say it right back to them, because I would then know that this is a special time of year to them for that reason. And I would hope, I'm going to get off my soapbox here, but I would hope that people would, treat me the same way, with that kind of respect. Let's see. GR says, Three Stooges had a cameo in the old movie It's a Mad, Mad World. Awesome. And Zuperplex says, does anybody remember the Abbott and Costello and Laurel and Hardy cartoons? I honestly don't. Either of those. Oh, I do remember Bionic Stooges, though, Lance Chaffin. Those guys were great. And then Zuperplex says, does anybody remember Barney, Google, and Snuffy Smith cartoons? I don't. Let's see. Hong Kong Phooey, I remember very, very well. Loved the theme song. And I do remember the Tarzan cartoons from the mid-70s. Tarzan and Batman shared an hour on CBS. They called it the Tarzan Batman Super Hour or something like that. I really enjoyed that Tarzan cartoon. I thought it was well done. That was another Filmation cartoon. GR says, I was in a couple of the Fiesta Flambeau parades in San Antonio back in the 70s as part of the ROTC drill team. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Great memories, I bet. Great memories. Sounds like a lot of fun. I've enjoyed walking in a handful of parades. Not as part of any sort of team or anything like that, but let's see. Jabberjaw was fun. I remember Speed Buggy as well. Joey Baseball says, how are you feeling about the new Ghostbusters movie coming out? I think it's strange that they're releasing it in November and not October. Yeah, that would have been cool if they could have done it right in front of Halloween, huh? For whatever reason, they decided not to. Maybe they wanted to take advantage of, people tend to go see movies around the holidays, and hopefully if that movie is good and has some legs, it will still be around when people have their Christmas vacation, their time off from school and work. I'm excited for it. A little bit trepidatious, a little bit, with all these movies, I get worried. I hope it's able to build on the legacy of the first Ghostbusters movie, even the second one, while not as good, while doing something new and, introducing some exciting new elements. I remember the Beetle Bailey cartoons, Superplex. Spike Spikerson says, our Saturday mornings were Warner Brothers and Hanna-Barbera. Two great animation studios, right? Herculoids were a lot of fun. Tron tanks were indeed cool. Spike Spikerson, no, the thing with Snake Plissken in it. Yeah, you're talking about the 80s movie that was directed by John Carpenter. I'm falling way behind. I'm going to try to move quickly here. Justin says, my Saturday morning was the Superstars of Wrestling. Great way to spend Saturday mornings. Lance Chaffin says, Hulk Hogan Rockin' Wrestling. Kimberly Wiederhold says, yeah, the remake of the thing was better. Totally agree with that. Lance Chaffin also talks about Super Friends on Saturdays. Dolph Quick says, speaking of clocks, has daylight savings times caught anyone off guard? It didn't this year, but sometimes it does. Danny recorded Monsters Go Home last night. That's going to be fine viewing for you, my friend. Fine viewing. I think there's some episodes of Munsters that are better, but it's still fun to see a feature film of the Munsters with most of the original cast. Joey Baseball says, "What does talking down to viewers mean?" That means not really just understanding that folks are intelligent enough to sometimes not have things explained to them. Lance Chaffin says the Happy Days cartoon. Kimberly Wiederholt says it's more like they think kids are stupid today. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Kimberly Wiederholt says, which was stupid? What do they think Christmas is? I'm going to let the chat answer that one since I was on my soapbox and box and fell way behind here on the chat. GR says the holiday special, the Star Wars holiday special, is available on YouTube. Yeah, there's a couple versions out there. I'd recommend the one with the original commercials in it. That is just a trip to go back in time and watch not just this holiday special, but the commercials that were supporting it. Spike Spikerson says, not me at Lance Chafin. I'm from the future, so time has no real meaning for me. Love it. Kimberly Wiederhold asks, why would I want to watch the Star Wars holiday special? To me, it's just a trip back in time. It's all about nostalgia. And Superplex says Star Wars Christmas special was great. Yep, I enjoyed it. Saw the Star Wars holiday special. I watched it live when it aired on CBS as a kid, and I've watched it a couple of times here on YouTube. GR remembers Laurel and Hardy animated. Kimberly Wiederhold says watching that thing was once was enough. Yeah, it's an intense movie for sure. And Dolph Quick says, let's not talk about that. The special that must not be mentioned. Kimberly says she was only in one parade. Still, it's one parade. That's awesome. And Superplex says another Ghostbusters cartoon. Not really a cartoon. We've got Ghostbusters Afterlife coming out in theaters next week. Space Ghost was awesome. And John Collins says, yes, Dave, I have the Peanuts Holiday Collection on DVD. Great, great DVD set, John. And Spike Spikerson says, I love the original Space Ghost. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Superplex says Lance, Space Ghost, and Birdman. A couple other great Hanna-Barbera characters. Okay, let's see. Laugh Olympics were fun. Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Interesting format there. And I'm going to keep moving. Young Samson. GR says the Munster films are all on YouTube streaming service now. Not YouTube's Tubi. I love Tubi. It's a great service. Free, folks. It's free. Sure, you're going to watch commercials, but it's free, and there's a lot of great programming on there. Kimberly Wiederhold said, I read that the Charles Schulz biography. He sure was an interesting man, full of contradictions. I think most of us are. You know, there's the people we aspire to be and the people who we really are. And sometimes we're not even that. Sometimes we even fell on that level. So yeah, I think many of us are full of contradictions, and certainly Charles Schulz was no exception to that. Kenneth Wilkerson says he thought last week was daylight savings time. No, it was this week. Yeah, exactly. The Star Wars holiday special is a time capsule. Yeah, and Kimberly, you're right. It wasn't the best, right? It was a real mixed bag of stuff. That's the only way I can describe it. It was a variety special is the best way to describe it, really, and it feels like a variety special. And so there were things on it that I really enjoyed and other things I didn't enjoy so much. The opportunity to hear Carrie Fisher sing the Star Wars theme with lyrics can't be missed, though. And Superplex says it was bad in a good way. I agree with you there. And Todd McCreary says they make it later all the time, Ken. Yeah. It feels like it, doesn't it? It feels like it. Going back to that Star Wars holiday special, you know, there's a show that I enjoy watching a lot. I've mentioned it to folks before, The Goldbergs. And I think probably 3 or 4 seasons ago, they covered the Star Wars holiday special very well. The youngest son in the family, Adam, is a huge science fiction, Star Wars kind of nerd kid. And he gets a hold of a bootleg copy of the Star Wars holiday special since he wasn't even born probably at the time of the original airing of that special. And so he's so excited to watch it. And then, of course, as you might guess, he is less than thrilled with the outcome of his viewing experience. All right, we'll keep moving. Lance Chaffin says Thundercats, another great cartoon. Justin, a.k.a. Braidwood Inn, says, believe it or not, I think Congress has to vote to get rid of daylight savings time. They voted to put it in place. So Yeah, it might take a while. Superplex says, just watching Harvey Korman was worth the price of admission. Yes, anything with Harvey Korman is worth the price of admission. And Lance Chaffin says, G.I. Joe, another great cartoon. Both, I think that was a syndicated cartoon, though. I really do. Joey Baseball says, daylight savings used to be in October, but they changed it for November so kids can go out trick-or-treating later. Well, that was kind of them. I bet you they had some other reasons, too, but it certainly worked out for the trick-or-treaters. Lance Chaffin says, Clue Club, don't remember that one. And John Collins says, Dave, since your channel is all about nostalgia, have you ever done a video on the Challenger disaster? And where were you at the time? I was in third grade watching it in homeroom. I haven't done one on it. I was in Spain. Many of you know that I am LDS. I'm a Latter-day Saint, affectionately known by many as Mormons. And I was serving my LDS mission at the time when the Challenger blew up. I remember the day that I was out walking with my missionary companion, and we walked by a newsstand, and I saw the news about the Challenger exploding, and it really impacted me. I felt I had never in my lifetime up to that point been aware of any sort of catastrophe or disaster related to the space program, and I just didn't think that spaceships blew up, and it was very sad for me. So I don't know if I'll ever make a video about that, but you never know, John. Hit me hard. I do not remember Mighty Man and Yuck. I do remember Diane Carroll in the Star Wars Holiday Special. Great part of the special. One of those parts that I enjoyed immensely. He-Man and She-Ra, I should say. GR says, The Goldbergs is a good show. Just started watching it a couple of years ago. Yeah, I really enjoy it. Particularly the first 4 or 5 seasons are just phenomenal. Isn't that true for almost all TV shows, though? And they're still going. They're still in its 9th season, I think, now. And it's still good. But those first few seasons are just fantastic. Spike Spikerson says, Thundercats was the name of my Josie and the Pussycats cover band during the 80s. Very cool, Spike. Got to wet the whistle there a little bit. Superplex says, I think it was on a Tuesday. I don't remember the day I saw that. I just remember seeing it and remember the impression and the impact it had on me. Apollo 1. Superplex remembers Apollo 1, another tragedy. Lance says, when the Challenger blew up, I had the flu that week. So yeah, it's interesting that we remember things about when we heard the news, right? And GR says, I was working as a programming analyst for UT when Challenger exploded. So I don't know what UT stands for. But you can tell us, GR. Spike Spikerson says, wait, what? Should we address Dave as Saint Dave? Please don't. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Kimberly Wiederholt says, the Goldberg's mother is just a tad bit insane. Yeah, she's a smother, to say the least. And from what I understand, in real life, well, obviously the character on television is an exaggeration. In real life, Adam Goldberg's mother is very much still a helicopter mom, a smother, if you will. Nancy D says that she was in Hawaii in the Navy when she heard the news about the Challenger explosion. Joey Baseball asks, do you think streaming has made TV better? Companies like Netflix give creators a lot of freedom as opposed to network primetime, but network primetime is where the money is. You know, I think it's made it different. And I think that we have a ton of choice now in terms of what we choose to watch. And technology has also made it very convenient for us where we can record things and watch them later, all of that kind of stuff. But I don't know if it's better. Part of me just enjoyed the simplicity of the handful of networks and having to watch a show when it aired or hope to catch it in reruns later on. United Technologies, is that what it was? Let's see. Lance Chaffin says, when 9/11 happened on a Tuesday, I was working at Ruby Tuesday. Well, there you go. That's an easy way to remember it. I remember when 9/11 happened, it was in the morning, obviously, and when I heard about it, I was on the internet before work, kind of reading some news, catching up on email, that kind of thing. And I saw that headline of the plane hitting the building. And I was thinking, yeah, that's weird. That's strange that would happen. I didn't realize that it was a huge jetliner that had hit the building. And then I drove off to work. And as I was driving to work, I was hearing all these news reports about it. And obviously, by the time I got to work, it was what a day. What a horrible, horrible day. Kimberly Wiederholt says, I was doing the dishes. Mama called me to tell me to turn on the TV. Yeah, I can see why she would. GR says, University of Texas Health Science Center. Very cool. Superplex says, Lance, can you believe I had to inform from Puerto Rico about 9/11? I'm not quite sure I understand the whole conversation there. We'll keep moving. Kimberly Wiederhold says, good shows need good writing. Most current shows don't have that. There are some good shows out there. I'm enjoying Ghosts on CBS on Thursday evenings, but it's an adaptation of a British show. And I've actually started catching a few of the original British version of the show. And it's wonderful as well. So they're out there. I think you have to look really hard with the expanded choices we have. There's a lot more crap out there too, to Kimberly's point. Justin says, who remembers getting those DVDs by mail and sending the others back? I had 3 at the time at Time Plan. It was Netflix. That was Netflix's original operating model, was that you would have either the 2 DVD or the 3 DVD plan. And then they slowly, over time, I think it was probably 5 years in, was when they added the streaming service and started small. And it was, at the time, it was you'd still keep your 2 DVDs or your 3 DVDs, but they'd give you a certain number of hours of streaming you could watch each month. It was really cool. And then, of course, it's exploded into the streaming service that it is today. John Collins says, back to the question about why don't they produce miniseries anymore? They still make them. They just call them limited series now. Yeah, I think that's exactly right, John. Tom says, heading home now. All right, Tom. And good to have you here on the live stream with us, by the way. Superplex says, I lived in New Jersey, just a few miles from the Twin Towers at the time. Rough day. Joey Baseball says, do you think we'll ever get a star like Robin Williams again? I was devastated by his decision to end his life. He was a tremendous talent. I think we could at some point get another star like him, but he was really one of a kind. They won't be like him. It'll be, someone maybe as talented as him. But there was a lot going on in his life. He was sick. He'd experienced a lot, and he'd had issues throughout his entire life, and it was sad that he made that decision. Lance Chaffin says, Dave, I watched The Fear of God, The Making of The Exorcist. I've seen bits and pieces of The Exorcist. Maybe one of these days I'll watch the whole thing. I do enjoy a good scary movie. Let's see. Daryl Johnston, welcome to the live stream. Heidi ho to you. Kimberly Wiederhold says, 9/11, I was at work. I remember exactly where I was standing when I heard the news. I remember exactly as I was sitting. I can see the screen in my head still as I saw the news on the internet. Delph Quick says, Saint Dave, the patron saint of classic music, movies, and TV. I can dig it. Well, you know what? Here's what I say about a good nickname. If it sticks, go with it. So no problem there. Joey Baseball says, I don't know what that question is. It was an answer to Joey Baseball from Superplex. I'll keep moving. Joey Baseball says, do you think Robin Williams knew how beloved he was? I don't think he understood how hard the world mourned his death. I feel like we did not take Robin Williams, or that we did take Robin Williams for granted towards the end of his career. He had a failed TV series. I don't think it lasted past one season on CBS. Some of his movies weren't clicking at the box office the way they were. I think he felt like his career was kind of on a downward trajectory, and I think that potentially may have played into just the overall feeling of morose, along with, like I said, some physical things that were going on with him. So, but I don't think he understood how hard we would mourn as a world. Superplex says, St. Dave, he certainly deserves it. Tom, I'm not sure you're going to catch us when we get done. I've got to end this thing in about 5 minutes. So let's keep moving. Daryl Johnson says, like button. Yes, folks. If you have enjoyed this live stream, hit the like button. Also, I would encourage you to subscribe to the Tiny TV Treasures channel, as many live streams in the future will be broadcast directly from this channel. You subscribe, you hit the bell for the notifications, and that's how you will be reminded of the live streams when they happen. Let's see. Kimberly says, I don't watch occult movies. I like a good scary movie, but that's probably one of the reasons. If it gets too much into like feeling real as opposed to fun, fantastical horror, that's when I really start to not enjoy it as much. Great question from Justin. He says, who's better in your opinion, Tippi Hedren, Melanie Griffith, or Dakota Johnson? Melanie Griffith. Joey Baseball says, you were using the internet in 2001. You were a trailblazer. Yes, I was using the internet in 2001, and I had it at home. I believe I was using a 9600 baud modem at the time. William Shatner got to go to space. Indeed, he did, Jeff. Thanks for pointing that out. It's good to see Captain Kirk get to finally travel to the stars. Yes, I didn't want to call it out by name, because there was a lot going on with Robin Williams, but he had Lewy body dementia. Interestingly, the same dementia my mother had. So I understand some of the fear he had about what would happen once that became accelerated and really took hold of him. Kimberly says Dakota Johnson's more like a soft porn star. I won't go that far, but she has made some risque movies. Lance Chaffin says Robin Williams and those suspenders. Superplex points out the Lewy body dementia that Robin Williams is struggling with. And John Collins says, isn't it ironic how most of us can't remember what we did 3 days ago, but we remember where we were exactly 20 and some 33 years ago? You know what? I'm going to end this live stream with that comment, just because it is ironic, but it's part of the fun of, and I'm not saying remembering those moments are fun, but I really enjoy waltzing down memory lane and the fun memories that come from thinking about old TV shows and movies and music even sometimes. So it's not always traumatic events, Kimberly, that stick with us. Sometimes I bet you can remember many of the great moments in your life as well, and remember them almost as crystal clear as those traumatic events. But I certainly do love waxing nostalgic, and I certainly like doing it with all of you, this wonderful community that rallies around the videos when I post them over on my Dave Sundstrom channel. So I thank you all for joining me today. I can't wait until Wednesday. Danny, you'll be getting an invite. I'd love to have you join us live on that one, being the noted expert on all things Sasquatch that you are. So hopefully I'll see you all on Wednesday on the live stream over on the main channel. And as GR says, live long and prosper, and perhaps even more importantly, have a wonderful remainder of your weekend.